Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. It's been a long time, ladies and gentlemen. This is our first live show in the new season that started July 1st. So, the last 3 weeks you have been seeing a rerun for our show, but tonight, you have the real us. So, you will be able to call us and we will answer. I'm sure some of you have called, as I'm told that phones were ringing up off the hook in the station, even for the rerun. So what we will start doing, I guess it'll be a good idea to put the just the date on the bottom of the screen there a couple of times for a couple of minutes, so people will know what date the program was originally broadcast live. Well, the reason I wasn't here because I took a trip to Palestine. I went down there. I wanted to see firsthand on what is going on in Palestine with the wall. Before we get into that, though, I just wanted to let you know what the show will be from now on. We will be coming to you twice a week. We will be on Tuesday night and Thursday night. On Tuesdays it will be 8 o'clock and on Thursdays it will be 6:30. And if there's any changes we will let you know ahead of time, but you might want to look for us next week just in case, because there was a little glitch in the computer today and they had us scheduled at 7:30. So just in case if that glitch is not fixed or if it's fixed permanently at 7:30, so you might just want to look for us on Tuesday, either at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, but we will let you know next week. It will be a definite schedule. And on Thursdays is at 6:30. So just bear with us and write them down, tell all your friends about them, because you know what? We are right. Everything we have been telling you in this program turned out to be correct 100%. We told you everything about the Israelis, everything about the Iraqis, everything about what we're doing there, everything about our Congress, everything about our president, our politicians, who pulls their strings, and we will continue to do so in the new season and for years to come, unless the laws might change. Because July 17, President Bush signed a directive. He's been signing a lot of directives lately, but he signed a directive on July 17 that basically says that if you are contributing to the stability of Iraq, you can lose your home. You can lose your property. Your assets will be frozen. And that's not for Iraqis or Iranians or Syrians. That's for everyone who lives in this country. So if you are against the war, that's just another step in the wrong direction that our administration has taken. So for those of you anti-war guys out there, be careful. But you know what? We should not take this one laying down. You have got to get off your couches and do something about it before it's too late. Before it's too late. Because right now, if you contribute to the instability of Iraq, and how do you contribute to that? If you don't go along with what the president and the administration is saying about it, then you will be contributing to the instability of Iraq. Fascism. That's exactly what we have. Fascism. When you have to either agree with the government or be punished, that's not democracy. We don't have democracy anyhow. Because to tell you the truth, look at it now. Who's going to be the next president? One, that is, it can't be two, it will be one, that has been already hand-picked. Already hand-picked. It doesn't matter to the powers that be. It doesn't matter to them who the president is. It matters to you. It will affect some domestic issues, some domestic concerns, but I guarantee you, the powers that be, wherever they want this thing in the Middle East to go, you will be picking the president that's going to do the job for them. I guarantee you. If it's a Democrat, he'll have a job different than if it is a Republican. But whoever it will be, that will be the objective of those handlers. So, we'll wait and see. One presidential candidate, I might add, that you really need to pay attention to. The media is not paying a lot of attention to him, but the media has been forced to at least consider him as a contender. Not a serious contender, but a contender. They show him every once in a while, and that is Ron Paul. You got it. That is Ron Paul. The only way Ron Paul was able to be into the positions that he is in, because you spoke, you said you wanted to hear from Ron Paul, and so the media is putting him on a little bit, but Ron Paul needs to be the front runner in this thing, and Ron Paul is the only person that will save this country. Democrats, you might not like what I'm saying, and probably Republicans, you might not like what I'm saying, but Ron Paul is the only one that will save us, because he probably has some handlers, but not as strong as the others. So pay attention to Ron Paul, and you really need to call your congressmen and senators and tell them about this contributing to the instability of Iraq. You will be losing your property and you will be punished severely. That's what used to happen in Red Russia, and that's what's happening in Red China right now. Anyhow, as I started saying, I came back. Tonight we only have 1 hour. It's not the normal 2 hours, because we will have another show on Thursday, and we welcome your phone calls. But I wanted to share with you some of what I have seen in Palestine, because I took a trip to Palestine. As you are aware that we have at Current Issues, we have done 2 documentaries before. One of them was about the checkpoints and roadblocks in Palestine. That was way back in 2000. And in 2004, we did another documentary called The Wall, the Apartheid Wall, where we showed you where this wall is going in Palestine. Well, now the wall is almost completed. In 2003 or 2004, it was not fully completed, but now it's like 95% completed. There's only a few spots before they finish this wall. Let's go ahead and show some of these pictures that I have taken just last week in Palestine. It's mind-boggling, ladies and gentlemen, of what is going on in Palestine. And when you think that this is Americans' taxpayers that is contributing to the suffering and the misery of the Palestinian people. This particular wall right here happened to be in the middle of a road. This is like you have a two-way street, and this cuts right in the middle of the road, where one side or one direction happened to be in Palestinian territories, and the other one now is part of Israel, because Israel have put that wall right in the middle of Palestinian neighborhoods. Let's go ahead and continue showing some of these pictures, and so you will see what is going on in Palestine with your money, and you will see how the Palestinian people are suffering because of this. Now, this is a wall that is going through, and you will see some other pictures that will show in much better picture. You will see where it is cutting through neighborhood, like this one, for instance. The neighborhood, and on the other side of the wall, this is the same neighborhood as you see close to where I was standing when I took that picture. And if you see the dirt right here, this is where the wall is going to zigzag and snake through neighborhoods where it will cut off neighbors from neighbors and families from families. And if, as some of you know, that Palestinian families are basically, they like to build homes and rent apartments and close to each other, so there will be sons around their parents, and what is happening here is you have these neighborhoods that have been cut off, and I have met with tragedies over there where people have families were split, and some of them remained on one side of the wall and the others on the other side, and it takes a whole day just to go around that wall and go visit with relatives. That if the Israelis give you permission to do so. This here, they're continuing to build the wall. As you see, the steel bars. But if you look at this, this is a neighborhood where they are cutting through. And what they're doing, they will take a big chunk of a neighborhood and then cut that neighborhood into sections and build walls, so you will have, they will divide the already divided area. What has been divided, they will divide it again, where actually neighborhoods can't leave this big chunk of land because it is completely surrounded by a wall, and even inside these neighborhoods, they will have other walls that are going in between. Now, next week, hopefully, this is all raw footage, and we did not get a chance to actually, well, the technology we have here in the studio is not really that great. Let's stay on that shot for a second. So we're not going to be able to show you the video, but hopefully by next week, we will show you the video. Now, this right here is, this is what's called a checkpoint. It starts out as being a checkpoint or a roadblock. Now, this was a checkpoint where they will send a couple of soldiers with a jeep on a street corner, and they will stop traffic and stop people from going back and forth, and they will give them an extremely hard time. As you see, some of these Palestinians that are standing in line, basically just to go home or go to school or go to the doctor or go visit families. That's how this particular checkpoint started. That is now a border crossing. We will show you how it became a border crossing in a little bit in some of these shots. But it started out as a checkpoint with a jeep and two soldiers. Then it turns into a roadblock like you're seeing it right here. Now, these people will stand in line for hours and hours, 100, 150 of them. It doesn't matter. When I went there, it was this past week, it was hot. It was boiling, scorching hot. And people stand there for 2 hours, 3 hours just to pass through these roadblocks. Now, these people, the agony of this whole thing is, you will have a 19-year-old Israeli soldier on the other side who will motion these poor souls to go towards him, and you can only go one at a time, and you have to walk very slowly, and when you get to him, he has to see your papers, and you better have a permission to go wherever you're going, otherwise he's just going to send you back. So you stand in these lines for 2 hours and 3 hours until you get to this soldier, and he will say, go back, and you just go back. Just imagine the productivity of the Palestinian people and Palestinian workers who are going to work, or students. Some of you remember that in the first documentary that I have done, I met with eight teachers who were going to school from one side to the other, and they only let 2 of them go. So imagine 8 teachers going to elementary school, and only 2 teachers will show up that day because the Israelis decided, like this guy right here, he decided to not let them go. There is no reason, and there's no law that tells these Israeli soldiers how to behave. They are being trained, and they are told to make the Palestinians' lives as miserable as it can be to break the will of the Palestinians. And so far, they have not succeeded. So what started out as a checkpoint and as a roadblock like this one, it turned out, if we go into some other pictures, you will see it turned out into a border crossings. Border crossings. Now, what is the difference between a checkpoint, a roadblock, or a border crossings? Very simple. I know you guys are having a hard time getting to that border crossing pictures, but do your best. It's probably after like the 10th, 11th, or something like that pictures, where you will see this is like what it used to be a roadblock, but that there is no longer there. Right now there is a full-fledged border crossing. Border crossing where you have to have a passport and a visa to pass through, which in other words, whatever areas that Israel built this wall in became part of Israel. Now, keep in mind, this wall was not built on Israeli border or the border between the West Bank and Israel. No. This particular walls that we were showing a while ago, this is like 2 minutes from Ramallah. Ramallah is where the Palestinian leadership is now. And all these areas just three years ago were Palestinian areas. They were under the Palestinian Authority. And now they have been encircled, and you have to have a visa and a passport to go. Now, the tragedy with this, if we can put some of the earlier pictures, and especially there's one, I think it's like number 2 or number 3 or something, there's a gate. If you can put that picture with the gate in the first 5 pictures, I believe, you will see that they had taken a big chunk of Palestinian territories, encircled it with the wall, and the people who remained on their side of the wall, on the Israeli side of the wall, they will still be Palestinians. There is one with a gate, not this one. You will see a gate, like an open gate. Put that one, because that's extremely important to what I'm saying here. So what is happening is they have taken this big chunk where Palestinians live. It became part of Israel, but the people there are still having the Palestinian IDs, which you can't go to like Jerusalem or any part of what is known as Israel with a Palestinian ID, and at the same time you can't move over to the Palestinian side unless you have a permission. They do have a gate, and these people who live in this particular neighborhood will have special IDs. It will be Israeli IDs that are specially for those Palestinians who remained in this no man land where it is not on the Palestinian side, but at the same time Israel will not give them like a Jerusalem ID where they have given some Palestinians who live in Jerusalem a special ID called the Jerusalem ID, where they will be able to go and work in Jerusalem and travel and throughout Jerusalem. But these particular Palestinians that we're talking about here, they will not be able to travel outside of that area that they have encircled them in. And within that big area that they have encircled them in, they also have walls within the neighborhood where even this neighborhood it will be detached from the other neighborhood. You're getting warm. That's some of the pictures. So if you go like one above, one below, you will get the right picture that I'm looking for to illustrate my point. Try another one. And okay, great. Just stay right there. This is right here, ladies and gentlemen. And once we show the video, once we show the video next week, hopefully, because we have taken video of this particular area right here. What you see right there in front of you is a gate. That gate is like a little half open, and this particular wall is not finished yet. Once it's finished, these buildings that you see through the gate, and if you look on the way far, you'll see other buildings on that same side of the wall on the right-hand side. These are the neighborhoods that were cut off from these other neighborhoods that you see on the left. And once the wall is completed, there will be an Israeli army checkpoint right here where no one can go in or out unless they have permission of the Israeli authority. Now, maybe you're not understanding what I'm saying here, but let's assume, if you've seen let's stay on this picture, please. If you've seen the movie that came out in the 80s with Patrick Swayze, I think, the Red Dawn, and where the Russians have came and occupied the southern part of the United States, where their military have occupied it. So the southern part of the United States was military occupied by the Russians. Assume we have that right here in the area we are in, or in whatever area you are in. Right here we are in Louisiana, so assume they come and put a wall around Lafayette, Louisiana, where we at, or around whatever city you are in, and then from within the city they will have neighborhoods cut out, and you can't leave these neighborhoods unless you have a special permission by the authorities, which will be, in our case, it'll be the Russians if they come and occupy us. But in the Palestinians' case, this is the Israeli army, military army with guns, who will be basically directing the lives of these people. Now, if you notice, these are apartment buildings where really there's not much industry going on there. There's hardly any industry going on in the Palestinian territories anyhow. So the economy, the economic impact on the Palestinians of engaging them inside these walls, inside these prisons, it's basically like having a huge prison for all these people. Now, you have to understand, within these walls, there's hardly much economic conditions that will help these people to survive. So what will happen is, because most of these people are people who work either for the government, which is probably 60% of all people in the Palestinian territories make their living working for the Palestinian National Authority. So once they can't go to their jobs, then these people would have to either leave or do something else. Now, you can imagine the social impact on these neighborhoods when people don't have money, when people can't go anywhere. Imagine the social crimes that will start in these neighborhoods. And you have to understand, I've been through these neighborhoods. This is more of a middle-class Palestinian neighborhoods, which people are living in you might say, in an okay condition. Now remember, these people are still under military occupation. But once this takes place and they're completely surrounded, once they take place and completely surrounded, God help them. Okay, let's go to Canada. Ramsey, go ahead, Ramsey.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, sir. I just want to ask you something, Anthony. I just want to say that the wall also has a tremendous negative impact on the culture of the Palestinians, not just the economy and civil society. And sir, I just want to ask you something. Like after the wall, is completed, what do you think they're gonna do next? And sir, would you please talk about the Jewish settlements. I'm sure you experienced.
I'm glad, Ramzi, you mentioned the Jewish settlements. This particular area that we're showing, it's called the Qalandia area in the West Bank. It is surrounded by Jewish settlements. It's not like this area was free to start with. No, this area is surrounded by 5 Jewish settlements. And now once you enclosed it within this wall, it's horrible conditions. Right now it's not, because the wall is not completed, and if you notice, that gate was still open. But what is happening there is people can't drive their cars. Keep this picture here that we're showing here. This is a picture of the wall just outside the gate, and people would have to walk down, get out the gate, catch a cab, and go to wherever they're going, either go to work or to the hospital, go grocery shopping or whatever. You will see a lot of cabs standing. This is like what is happening here is, and also when you come home, you can't drive your car into your neighborhood. You would have to either leave it there or catch a cab to the outside of the gate, and hopefully the gate will be open, because as you know, the Israelis have, this is not the first time they put this gate. This is the first time they put this gate so close to Ramallah into this area, because they have done this, and 3 years ago I've showed the gate that is around the city of Qalandia and the city of Jenin and the city of Tulkarem. Now they are basically finishing this particular wall and dividing, not just dividing. You see, the thing, Ramzi, is, Israel is selling this wall to the world, number one, as a fence. And when people hear a fence, they think of their hurricane fence or their, 4-foot fence in their backyard. But this is actually a 25-foot concrete wall that, and with these towers that we are showing now, these towers are armed, are manned by men with guns, and people have died even children have died for playing close to this wall. You bring up an excellent point, Ramzi, with the social impact and cultural impact. Definitely, this is what they want. They want to denigrate the Palestinians socially, economically, even they want to break their will. And there's one negative aspect of this that I witnessed when I was there, is back in 2004, people were very mad and very upset. Now, it's like they got used to this. It becomes part of life. And I could not believe that people are not as mad as they used to be in 2004. Because it's like, okay, let the Israelis put this wall. We will continue doing what we are doing. Of course, it is impacting the Palestinians right now as we speak, socially, economically, the whole thing. And once this darn wall is completed, God help the Palestinians.
Yeah, so I also just want to tell you that a lot of the, I'm sure you've noticed this, that, and this is never mentioned, that, the Jewish settlements, they cause a lot of trouble. They attack people and kill people, they pollute the water, they uproot the trees, the olive trees, and the Israeli soldiers do nothing.
Well, the Israeli soldiers live in those Israeli settlements, and they live. I mean, these settlements, that's where these Israeli soldiers come from. And it depends on where these settlements are. The problems they cause the Palestinians varies. Like, for instance, in Hebron, where only about 250 Jewish settlers in the middle of about almost 700,000 Palestinians, in Hebron, they basically, they're way up there, and they throw trash at people using the old market in Hebron, leading to the Al-Haram al-Ibrahimi, which is the Abraham tomb. And this is what is happening. And also in other instances, the settlers will come down. Now, most settlements are built on top of hills, where in the old time villages were built like at the bottom, like in valleys and plateaus, and because you needed water and you needed protection, so you were using these mountains. Some villages are on top of mountains, but the majority of them are in the valley. So now, since you can get the water to all these Israeli settlements, all settlements are on top of hills, and these people come down, and they have came down so many cities and towns, vandalized cars, burnt homes, basically killed Palestinians trying to get and harvest their olives. As you know, olive is probably the #1 product that the Palestinian economy depends on, and it is a huge problem for them. So yes, these Israeli settlers are illegal settlers because they are in Palestinian territories. And definitely you are right when you said they cause problems. They cause a lot of more problems. And also because they are on top of these mountains, they a lot of times they will shoot down at the Palestinian villages and towns, and no one will do anything about it. And that's the law of the jungle.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ramsey.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay. Just think about the chaos here that you are seeing in and you are watching. People, what you take for granted, ladies and gentlemen, just going to work and visiting families in other cities and just going on vacations and whatever you do, it's these people can't do. These people, just to move from one street to the other, they would have to have the Israeli authorities' permission, and they would have to have, now this permission has to be granted by the authorities prior to you joining one of these lines. So you have to go and apply for this permission because of whatever case it might be. You might be a student. Now they will give permission for students to go, let's say, from their town to a university. You might be working in that town, so they will give special permission. But the thing is, even though, because if you don't have a permission, you will not be standing in those lines. Like if you don't have a darn good reason to leave your area, you will not be standing in these lines. And you might think that, like some people, actually, I was at a convention. Please keep those pictures there. Some people think, well, yeah, the Israelis need to, for security reasons. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, this is not in close to Israel or its borders. This is in every Palestinian city. People can't move in their own cities and in their own neighborhoods. This is the border crossing that I was talking about. Now, leave this picture here because this is the picture that I wanted to show. What used to be a checkpoint that we showed in the beginning of the program, and then later on it turned into a roadblock. Like I said, a checkpoint is a jeep with a couple of soldiers who starts checking IDs and just making people's life as hell as it can be, and then it turns into a roadblock where it is permanent and you cannot drive your cars. You see, in a checkpoint, you'll be able to drive your car if they will let you. On a roadblock, you cannot. You can't just go through the roadblock if you are a Palestinian. And then around this little area called Qalandia, which is very close to Ramallah, they have a full-fledged a border crossing. And a border crossing, they call it a border crossing because once you go through it, then you are considered in Israel. And you have to have a visa, and of course Palestinians will not be granted visas. But remember, it is not Israel, it's Palestine. It's not like in the 1948 area. This is in the middle, ladies and gentlemen. This is in the middle of the West Bank. It's not like close to their border, because the way they were able to sell this particular wall to people is that this is a security fence to keep the Palestinians from attacking the Israelis. That is a bunch of bull, because it is not even close to where the Israelis are. And if you want to protect yourself, if you really have to put a wall between you and the people next to you, then put the wall on your border. You know, you don't go and put your hurricane fence in your neighbor's backyard. You put it in your backyard, on your borders. But the Israelis, their job is to make the Palestinian people's lives. And ladies and gentlemen, I've done the first documentary back in the year 2000. It's been 7 years for the Palestinians, so you have a whole culture now of people adapting to this prison mentality. Just like people were born in prisons. You know, those who were 7 years old, now 14 years old. Guess how much they like Israel. Guess how much they care for the United States. When they know that every penny and every ounce of concrete that went into this wall was paid for by United States taxpayers' money. We, ladies and gentlemen, are paying for this wall. We are paying to make the Palestinian lives miserable. And we need to do something about it because it is done in your name. Let me go to the phones with Amigo. Good, Amigo?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Doc?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fine, fine. God bless you that you're back home safe, you know?
Thank you, thank you.
Listen, Doc, I'm sure you heard of that while you was out of country. Last week, I want your opinion on two subjects, and I'm going to hang up. Last week, I think it was last week, Rupert Murdoch is trying to buy the Dow Jones, and the family is split on that. My opinion is this guy get a hold to the Dow Jones, this country is going to be in serious trouble.
Well,
and that's my opinion. And give me your intake on it. Your input, rather. And
but amigo, hold on a second. I'll let you continue.
Okay.
Okay. It doesn't really matter if Rupert Murdoch gets the Dow Jones because the Dow Jones is already in the hands of those who are controlling our affairs.
Well, yeah, well, it kind of scared me, though.
So, well, I mean, it's already scary because they already have that.
Right.
So it's just going from one hand to the other to the same hand. It's not like going back to the, where no one person controls.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
He who has the money controls.
All right.
And they have the money.
Well, he offered them $5 billion.
He got the money. I offer them $5. That's about the only thing I can afford.
And now, last but not least, Doc, what's your take on the Israeli people letting these prisoners go, poor Palestine prisoners go after all these years and what have you? Was that just to show the country and the world, hey, look, we're trying.
Well, let me. There's about 10,000 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails, and I don't want to call them. These people were kidnapped.
Right.
These people are victim of kidnappings.
Right.
These people did not harm anyone. These people did not do much to the Israelis, except probably if you were on one of those lines.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I have seen people getting mad because, imagine being there for 2 hours.
Right.
Imagine being there for 2 hours, and by the time you get to the soldier, 19-year-old whippersnapper, who another 19-year-old next to him start laughing at you and making fun of you, and then if you say something, they're going to tell you go back.
Right.
And if you get upset with them, they're going to arrest you. Your crime is you give an attitude at one of these checkpoints.
My.
Okay? That's what most of these people are in jail for nothing. And a lot of them, once the Israelis decide, you know what, we're going to go and get us some Palestinians, they'll just arrest 10, 15 of them and haul them off to jail.
Because they can do it.
Well, they can do it. if somebody, let's say somebody throws a rock, a little child, a little boy throws a rock at an Israeli Jeep. Well, the little boy runs away and probably disappears in the neighborhood. Well, they're gonna go and line up about 15 or 20, and it doesn't matter, boys, girls, doesn't matter. Young men, and they're going to take them. I've seen that. I have seen that happen in front of me, where they will just go and pick up, students go into their classrooms, pick them up and haul them off to jail, and these people will stay in jail for like a year, 2 years without even being charged with anything. They call it administrative arrest. In administrative arrest, you don't have to show cause, you don't have to show anything, but you have, I think, 6 months or a year, and it is renewable before the courts will decide to step in. And you get a couple of people to say, oh, this little boy threw rocks at an Israeli Jeep, and he will get a couple of years in jail or probably more. Now, if this little boy was caught in a demonstration against the Israelis or actually throwing rocks at the Israelis, he will get probably about 6 or 7 years or 8 years in jail. Now, the people that they had released were already, these are like people they had picked up in the streets who did not do anything, and their administrative arrest period was almost over, because most of them, like in a couple of months, they will be out anyhow, because there are no charges no charges have, came down against them. And but this thing, what the Israelis have done, they're playing a game. They're playing a game with the Palestinians, and they're playing a game with the world. It is a propaganda. It's a big propaganda game. And the Palestinians
are. One day, Doc, I pray before I die, the day I can see where countries of around the world say, listen, we got enough of these people. This is genocide to the max, slavery, control, all packaged in one point. This is my opinion. And I pray very hard every day before I die that I see somebody go step to the plate, countries get together, say, United States, Israel, we got enough of this.
Amigo, you bring up a good point, an excellent point, and that's the problem, that's the tragedy of the Palestinian people. Over the weekend, I was in a conference. I was invited as a special speaker, special guest to speak at it's America's Promise Ministries. It's a bunch of congregations from around the country. They have their annual convention, and they invited me.
Didn't you go to one like that last year?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Well, I go. I mean, I speak. Anyone invites me, I will speak. I will go and speak. So I showed some of the videos that I could not show tonight because of the technology we have here in the studio does not permit me to. And the product is not finished yet. But once I get it done, then we're gonna show it on TV. But I showed them. Well, they were shocked when I showed them the videos, and I showed them me walking in these neighborhoods, and me telling them this house belongs to this guy who's his mother, and this story have repeated itself over and over again. 3 years ago, I had the same story in another city. 4 years ago, there was another story in the same city where the guy lives across the street from his mother. And in this particular case, there was no street between them. There is, it was adjacent to his house, and the wall came right in between his house and his mother's house. And this man cannot see his mother forever. These families will not be able to see each other forever.
Oh, that's inhumane.
And they are only across this darn wall from each other. And when these people at this particular convention, when they saw this, they were crying. I had people come to me crying and saying, "We are sorry, we did not know this." They show us on American TV, on the media, they show us this and they say this is a security fence because of the Palestinians who want to kill the Israelis. How many Israelis have died on the hands of the Palestinians? How many? But the question is, how many Palestinians have died on the hands of the Israelis? Who is occupying who? Who is in whose land? These people came from Europe. These people came from Europe and occupied this land because the powers that be at that time, England, decided that we're going to give this piece of land to the Jews, and that's exactly what happened.
That's right.
But listen to this. The Palestinians have since said, yes, okay, we accept Israel. We recognize Israel. We will live with Israel.
Right.
The Palestinians were given 47% of the land back in 1947. Now, the only thing that is left was 22%, that is the West Bank and Gaza. But right now, actually, if you deduct these areas where the wall has taken, and if you deduct the illegal Israeli settlements, there's about 500,000 Israeli settlers, illegal Israeli settlers in the West Bank. When you deduct all that, the Palestinians will only have about 10% of the land.
Of their country.
Of their country.
Right, you know. But you know what, Doc, and last but not least, Inhumane Society. They're about to give Vic, you know, the football player, for the animals, which is rightly so. What about the Inhumane Society stepping up to the plate for human beings, such as Palestine, the Palestinian, the people in Africa that's being slaughtered.
Exactly.
Palestinians. You don't never hear the Inhumane Society make a big thing about this. They're making a big thing about one man dog fighting.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
And you know, I mean, why would you call yourself the Inhumane Society?
Exactly. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. You know, a couple of months back, we had the whale, the two whales, you know, the calf whale and the big whale that went under the Golden Bridge. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, people were, I mean, captured by these images, and people will go home every night just to watch the news to see what's going to happen to these whales. Are they going to be able to go back into the ocean or not? Now we have thousands of Palestinians, forget about dying, thousands of Palestinians in prison, in their own homes, in their own areas. You know, I was talking about this particular conference that I was at. These are Christians, people who know what Jesus is all about. They teach it. They study it. They're Christians, they're not Muslims. They were weeping when they saw the images of what I just showed you, of these neighborhoods being split. Now, you have seen the images that I showed you about Palestinian kids being killed, mutilated by Israeli bullets. But now the game has entered a different phase. A phase of imprisoning a whole society with your money. I've had older men, older women, younger men, younger women crying and praying for the Palestinians. And the least you can do is pray for the Palestinians. Because of a fault not of their own, they find themselves the victim of power, of dirty power, dirty money. Just because these people can rule, just because these people can influence our politicians, you might want to ask your favorite politician or your favorite presidential candidate, why did you have to go to Jerusalem? Why did you have to go to Israel before you were even allowed to announce your candidacy. Ask Hillary Clinton, ask Giuliani, ask Barack Obama, ask McCain, ask all these presidential candidates. John Edwards, all of them, except 2, did not go to Israel. All of them, except 2, did not go to Israel. Well, all of them went. That's what I'm trying to say. All of them went to Israel, except 2 who did not go to get the blessings of the Likodniks there in Israel. And those 2 are Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich. Ask yourself, why do they have to go and get approval from these people? Ask yourself, you, my audience, you are very educated in the politics of our country here. You know AIPAC very well. You know their influence on our politicians when it comes to Israel. You know their influence on our government when it came to the war on Iraq. And now they are trying to drag this country into another war. It is time before it is too late that you do something about it. If you don't want to pick up the phone and call your congressman and tell him to stop this nonsense, or you're not going to vote for him anymore, if you're not going to get out there and demonstrate in the street to stop using your money to humiliate and kill the Palestinian people, if you don't want to do anything, then just pray for them. That's all I want you to do. The power of prayer, ladies and gentlemen, is so huge. And you know that already. And it's not going to cost you a penny to pray for peace. Pray for both. I want you to pray for both. For the victim and for the oppressor. For the oppressor to open their minds and hearts to do what's right. If what's right is in their dictionary. If what's right in their state of mind. If what's justice and humanity has not been taken out of their minds and hearts and souls. Because what I have seen, ladies and gentlemen, in Palestine, when these kids, 18 and 19-year-old, humiliate older Palestinian men, slap around men and women, and when these men and women can't do anything about it because the other guy has a gun, and because if you say something about it, you will be arrested. But some of these young Palestinian men and women, they do say something about it, and they end up getting arrested. Now remember, you work hard for your money to have it go to a country like Israel to build. And once you get to see the video, because pictures really can't tell much, and if you really want to see the whole thing, if you really want to live it, you've got to go there. You have got to go there and see it. See what's happening to Bethlehem. When Christians, Palestinian Christians, can't go from one side to the other. When Palestinian Christians on Christmas night cannot go to Mass in the Church of the Nativity because the Israelis have a wall around Bethlehem and its neighborhoods. I think you do have a reason to pray. Pray for peace. Pray for peace. Okay, well, we only have a minute left, and next week, hopefully I'll have some of this video. Just remember, tell your friends, relatives, everybody that we are on 2 days now. We are on Tuesday at 8 o'clock, and Thursday at 6:30. Do I assume that we only have half a minute left? And if somebody is going to, the floor director is not here tonight, but I wish if somebody will come here and there you go. All right, 9, 8, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Thursday, 6:30. I will be here. Good night. When Christians, Palestinian Christians can't go from one side to the other. When Palestinian Christians on Christmas night